Have you ever pictured New Zealand? Rolling green hills, a clean, green paradise, right? A fair and egalitarian society? For many, that's the dream. But starting in the 1980s, a dramatic shift happened. An economic experiment that reshaped the nation in ways we're still feeling today. Let's talk about the real impact of neoliberalism on New Zealand. Back in the early 80s, New Zealand faced an economic crisis. The response was a series of radical reforms, often called Reaganomics. The government decided to let the free market take the lead. This meant privatizing state-owned assets, think railways, electricity, and telecommunications. They cut subsidies for farmers, deregulated the financial system, and reduced taxes, especially for the wealthy. The idea was to make the economy more efficient, competitive, and dynamic. And in some ways, it worked. The economy did become more open. But this efficiency came at a huge social cost. The user pays principle was introduced for public services. Suddenly, things that were once considered a right, like aspects of healthcare and higher education, came with a price tag. University fees soared, making it harder for those from lower income backgrounds to get a degree without taking on massive debt. Access to healthcare started to depend more on your ability to pay. This created a two-tier system, where those with money could get faster, better care, while others faced long waiting lists in the public system. One of the most immediate and painful effects was a massive rise in unemployment. As industries were deregulated and privatized, many companies restructured to maximize profit, which often meant cutting jobs. Thousands of people, particularly in manufacturing and public sectors, lost their livelihoods. This didn't just affect individuals. It devastated entire communities that were built around a single industry. This economic shift also led to a dramatic increase in inequality. While some at the top did very well, with lower taxes and new investment opportunities, wages for the average worker stagnated. The gap between the rich and the poor widened significantly. Before these reforms, New Zealand was one of the most equal countries in the developed world. By the 2000s, it had one of the fastest growing rates of inequality. This wasn't just about money. It was about opportunity. It became harder for people to move up the economic ladder. The housing crisis we see in New Zealand today also has its roots in this era. Financial deregulation made it easier to borrow money, and with a lack of government investment in social housing, property became a prime target for investment. Prices began to climb, and they haven't stopped since. Today, homeownership is an impossible dream for a huge portion of the population, especially young people. High rents eat up a huge chunk of people's income, pushing more and more families into poverty and housing insecurity. So, while the reforms of the 1980s were meant to create a more prosperous New Zealand, the reality is complex. They created wealth, but that wealth wasn't shared equally. They left a legacy of inequality, underfunded public services, and a housing crisis that continues to challenge the nation's egalitarian ideals. It's a powerful reminder that economic policies have real, human consequences that can last for generations. What are your thoughts on this? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching. If you found this interesting, please consider liking this video and subscribing for more deep dives into the topics that shape our world. See you next time.